Welcome back to another episode of On the Red Carpet with Allison. I'm so excited. Do you want to know why? Because we're talking wrestling again. I can't contain my excitement. I sat down with Cali based Lace 'em Up Sports, Ryan and Mike. I was so excited to get to talk to them about all things wrestling and about who's winning that Royal Rumble. So let's take a listen.
I want to jump right in. Mike, I want to learn all about Lace 'em Up Sports, but we're all wrestling fans, so we naturally got to talk about wrestling. So
Yeah.
tell me about Lace 'em Up Sports first.
Well, Lace 'em Up Sports is my baby. It basically I came up with the idea because I would always go to bars and I would always talk about sports with friends. And we'd always have these deep, passionate conversations about sports. And one day I was like, I've always wanted to start working in sports. I never had the opportunity. I've always worked in education. Currently I work in mental health. And so, but like working in sports was always like maybe like a pipe dream of mine. And this is like around the time where I felt like podcasts were just on the boom, like they're on the rise,
Yes.
from like 2012 to like 20, till now. Obviously, they've risen so much and it's like taken its own shape and form. But Lace 'em Up Sports, it was originally just called the Lace 'em Up Podcast. A little,
Interesting.
weird name. People were like, "Why Lace 'em Up?" I don't know. I just like I guess the double entendre of like you're gonna lace them up, right? But with that, I started by myself, but then I had a co-host who, he kind of, we both made it into about sports, but then it also transitioned into music, TV shows, movies. We had an episode about The Office. We had an episode about Kanye West. We had an episode about Kobe Bryant, like just different topics.
Love it.
We did that for about 2 years, and all of the episodes are still somewhere on Spotify. You guys can look them up at the Lace 'em Up podcast. But then times got busy, pandemic happened. I stopped podcasting for a long time. And then 2023 rolled around. I met up with my old partner again. We started converging into ideas. We didn't necessarily have a podcast, but just started making content again. And our big thing was making reels. And so then we just basically just started focusing on making reels, and I started making voiceover content. And then with that, it was just like Dodger content, Laker content, basically all LA sports. And then I started making little mini documentaries. I made one about how the LA Clippers are cursed, and so that took off. I made one about the Dodgers. So this is before the Dodgers got Shohei Ohtani. And so it was called The Dodgers Almost a Dynasty because for years the Dodgers would be in the playoffs and we would lose every single year. Like we won the 2020 World Series, but people don't
It
count
didn't
that.
count COVID.
Mickey
Exactly.
Mouse ring.
Yeah. And so then um I've known Ryan for years, years and years and years. And so we've always been big wrestling fans. And for a little bit on the Lace Smith podcast, I would talk about wrestling, but it wasn't like a major feature. But wrestling has always been a huge, huge part in my life. I mean, when I talk about sports, wrestling is right there. I've been watching WWE, WWF since 1995. My first memory as a child was SummerSlam 1995, and I remember the main event was The Undertaker versus The Undertaker. It was the
Interesting.
good Undertaker versus the bad Undertaker. That was my first memory as a child. So wrestling has always been a part of my life, and so Ryan, he's always been a close friend of mine. And so I just decided, look, let's just start a podcast. We'll put it under Lace 'em Up. And then with that, I rebranded Lace 'em Up podcast into Lace 'em Up Sports Media. And so now we have, I named that, Lace 'em Up Sports Media with the Wrestling with Ryan podcast. And so
Love it.
going forward now, almost a year and a half later, it's now Wrestling with Ryan and Mike. And we have almost like over 60 episodes about pro wrestling.
That's incredible. I love that. For you guys, I focus on the red carpet mainly around local artists, so music, shows, all of that fun stuff. I did one episode wrestling so far, so this will be my second with a really good friend of mine. My mom and his mom are friends, so we take him to all of the shows that we go to. So it was a fun 30 minutes, and I know this is going to be a fun 30 minutes. Ryan, do you want to tell me how you got into wrestling, or should I tell my not great story of how I got into wrestling
I
first?
can. I could start off. So I got into wrestling when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I was just in kindergarten, and because I have three siblings, I had two older brothers, and one of my older brothers, he watched WWE, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you should watch it." And he put it on for me, and you know, I didn't know what to think of it. And then one of the first memories I have is I remember seeing like Ric Flair before he retired. I still remember
Ooh,
seeing like D-Generation X with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And then, but out of all of the wrestlers I saw, there was really one that stood out to me. And the one that stood out to me was John Cena. And, I just wanted to learn like more about him. And I started watching it like every week. I started doing like research. I started to like gain more knowledge of it, and I've been a fan ever since. And I didn't go to my first live show until 2015. It was Hell in a Cell at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and I remember it was Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. It was Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt in Hell in a Cell, and it was John Cena, the U.S. Open Challenge, where he lost to a returning Alberto Del Rio. And I went with my dad, and my dad had never been to a show. And my dad's like, "Why is he tearing up the ring?" Because Brock Lesnar was like tearing the canvas off the ring. My dad's like, "What's he doing?" I'm like, I don't know. And so I went to that show. It was my very first show, and it was exciting. And I started going to more like later, especially as I got older. Started working, making my own money. So yeah, so I've been a wrestling fan pretty much my entire life because I just turned 25. So I can't really imagine my life without wrestling. And so yeah, and it's like I've tried watching other like wrestling promotions, and they never quite hooked me quite like WWE has. And then of course like they don't have the greatest of all time,
we
John
don't either,
Cena.
though. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And it's been a hard transition for me now that he's no longer, a wrestler, but I'm still a fan of it. I still love it. I'm still watching it every week, and I'm still keeping up with it. Like I can't picture my life without wrestling. I feel like I wouldn't have a life, or my life wouldn't be the way it is without WWE.
I have such a similar story. I started loving it since I was born. No, I'm kidding. My story is very funny. So it was last year's Rumble. My sister said, "Come on." Now, let me preface this by saying my dad would always have it on, even before my sister started liking it. But when my dad had it on, I was gravitating more toward like Sheamus and The Miz. But
That's
now,
odd.
no, it's not. They're
It's
great.
not. It's not. Those are some of the most talented guys on the roster. Very underrated.
The Miz Funko Pop with his Money in the Bank cash in sits on my desk next to my LA Knight and my Dominic Mysterio. But now that my sister got into it, she kept saying to me, "Sissy, come on, just one episode, just one episode." And I was like, "Piper, no offense, but like this is really nerdy and this is like low key stupid." So the what, like, no offense, guys. Like
No,
now I
you're
am.
none taken, none taken. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that like, it's fake, right? I'm like, yeah, it's like your favorite movie.
Very
I
true.
mean, clock it.
Yeah.
But so I was watching the one day and I was scrolling on my phone and it was getting close to the Royal Rumble and I saw Dom on TV and I looked at my sister and I said, "Who's that?" And my dad goes, "Of course you'd say that." So Dom caught my eye first. And then when I saw Jay, I was like, "Who is that?" So then he won the Royal Rumble and I started watching it. And then around my birthday, so my first live event was SummerSlam of last year. And
Ooh, you
my
would.
parents surprised me and my sister with that for my birthday because my birthday's in May. So we went to both nights and we actually did get to meet Jay. And that was great. So here I am, and I feel like I've caught up really fast. Like I feel like I'm a fast track fan. It's like I did all my research. It's like I could talk about the bloodline because they're all hot. So like I minus
True.
Sammy.
Very
I
true.
I knew about all of that. I know, some of the Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio lore with Dom, but like other than that, I'm watching now in the present.
There's so much history to not just WWE, because WWE is like its own thing, right? But there's so much history to wrestling. I feel like for a new fan, it could be overwhelming to learn all this history and to get caught up on all of that. Because not just WWE, there was WCW, there was NWA, there was AWA from like the way back,
You
and
had the original ECW.
yeah, so much like history that kind of bleeds into like WWE history. Yeah, I can see it being very, very overwhelming for like a fan that just like started watching last year, which you're doing an amazing job for just like for knowing your history, for just being a
Thank
fan
you.
for a recent
Yeah,
fan.
no,
I
yeah,
know my
very,
history because they're hot. And
Sure,
that's
very
the
true.
last time I'll say
That's
it.
that's valid. It
My
because
yeah,
it because I'm like, of course you can ask Mike. I'm literally like the biggest John Cena fan like in the world. You can ask me any question
yeah,
about him. I guarantee you I'll get it right. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, I'm his biggest fan. I have to know that. They're like, no,
when
you
I
don't. I'm
was
like,
like,
no, I have to
yeah,
know that.
yeah, when I was like in middle school, I would have it on, and my mom would be like, "Damn, Randy Orton's hot."
I mean, she's not wrong. He's hot now. Like, even as he's like older, he's like
Yeah,
beautiful. And here's the thing, he met his wife who was a
yeah,
fan of the show.
Yep.
Like, I remember watching that, but I should also preface, like, while I'm talking about this, I grew up with a mother who loved reality TV. So I
oh my
love
gosh,
reality TV. I knew outside the ring stuff before watching the in-ring stuff. So like I watched Total Divas. I watched
okay,
Nikki and
Yeah.
Brie. I watched, Ms. and Mrs. I love the reality side of it. I love the drama side. And I think that's why I love it so much. I'm here for the drama and I'm here for the hot guys.
there you go, exactly.
My favorite of all time.
Yeah, okay,
We'll
Um,
give you a bit to think about it.
yeah.
I
We
mean,
can have a little discussion on that.
my favorite of all time, I have to pick one,
Yeah,
just one.
just one,
Okay.
just one.
Ryan, you're not gonna like me. Be
I know what you're gonna
Dom.
say. I know what
Dom
you're
is
gonna
my favorite
say.
of all time, and I will tell you why. So when Dom lost his IC title to John Cena at MSG, I cried. Like I literally called off. Like I called off of work the day after because I was like emotionally
That's too
broken.
funny. I know it's funny because I yeah, because I had something similar after Saturday night's main event. She's last match. I'm like, nobody talk to me. Leave me alone.
That we'll talk about that last match, but I have to say, Dom's one, he's a good-looking man, I'm not gonna lie. His character work, his heel work is probably the best of this time. And he's gonna be a great, like he's already a great in my eyes, but I do see him being a Randy Orton, an AJ Styles, a John Cena of down the line. And
Yeah,
that might be a hot
Yeah,
take, but I
you
do
know
see
he
him being a
he
future
when
great.
yeah he
yeah,
has improved a lot because I know you're like a newer fan, but before he was with the Judgment Day, he was a babyface. He teamed with Rey Mysterio. They won the tag titles, and people did not like him. They're like, okay, he's only where he's at because Rey Mysterio is his dad. Like when Ray
he was like
retires,
the
he'll
Bronny,
probably be
yeah,
go.
he was like the Bronny James of WWE. I feel like at that point.
Not Brawny.
But he
Don't
was though. Like he was like and I when me and Ryan went to WrestleMania in Dallas 2022, I remember like talking to him about this. Like I was like, dude, like this kid does not deserve to be here. Like he's not good. He's basically only there because of Rey Mysterio.
my
And but
heart.
since I've said that, the guy has like just he's come into his own and he's not like looked at Like, if you didn't know any better, you would not think that Rey Mysterio is his dad physically.
Yeah.
No.
And yeah,
I told Mike, as much as it pained me to say, I said I could see Dominic Mysterio winning the Money in the Bank briefcase
oh,
this year.
for
As
sure.
much as that pains me to say, but
The Judgment Day, I fear, is coming to an end, and that breaks my heart in
Yeah,
so many ways because I'm living dirty all day, every day.
living
I
dirty.
love them, but Finn's match, I will say this: Finn is a main event man, and Monday nights against Punk really proved that. That was
he
A plus match,
he
and Finn is so
thrives.
great to watch in the
Yeah,
ring.
He's
and
always
I
been that guy,
think
though.
and I think if they make him like a full-fledged babyface again, it's gonna be like, because you saw, like, I know they were in Ireland, but you saw like everybody was doing the with his entrance, and it's just like the way his entrance was, it's something we haven't had from Finn in
No, you're right.
years.
I mean, he was the first Universal Champion, but like ever since he won that title, he vacated it. They did not do anything with him even remotely close. I mean, he was in NXT. He was a big deal in NXT for a couple, I think, like a year or two, and then he came back to the main roster and just floundered. And then he was put in the Judgment Day stuff, and he's really thrived in the Judgment Day. But now it's at a time now where the Judgment Day needs to kind of dissipate, and you need to let Dirty Dom be that main event guy. You need to have Finn Balor continue to be a main event guy.
I
Like,
agree.
that's what it
That's why,
serves.
yeah, and like I wouldn't be surprised if we see Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania. And Allison, I know you won't like to hear this, but after WrestleMania, it'll be and new Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor.
I already have tears in my eyes. I really don't want to think about that. I love Dom with the title. I love Dom in general, and I really hope that if he loses his IC title, that makes way for his heavyweight championship match.
I think
And
so.
I think that's the direction it would go, because it shows like, okay, he's moved on past the Intercontinental title. He's built himself up. Now that next hurdle is getting to the World Heavyweight Championship.
Mhm.
So I need to know, you asked my favorite of all time, which was such an underwhelming answer. Mike, who do you got?
I gotta go with the final boss, The Rock.
Ugh.
The Rock is,
Interesting.
I mean, okay, so like Stone Cold Steve Austin is the Attitude Era. Like, he is the Attitude Era. Hogan and Austin are the two biggest superstars of all time. But if you're asking me who's my favorite, it's The Rock. Like, The Rock captivated the audience like no other. I mean, you go back on YouTube and you watch The Rock from like 1999 to like 2002, even Hollywood Rock. I mean, there was nobody on the microphone. He would own every single superstar that there was. The Undertaker, Stone Cold, Triple H, like Hall of Fame guys. He owned them just by these little sarcastic comments, these funny little comments he did. I mean, there was nobody like The Rock. Now, when The Rock came back in 2011, he was more Dwayne Johnson, and nobody's going to think of The Rock from that era. But when I think of The Rock, I think from like 1999 to like 2000, 2002. I mean, I got to go with The Rock, man. He was just, there's a
So
reason
like
why he
pre
went.
me, I have to
Hmm?
go back and watch those. That was way pre me. I wasn't even born yet.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I wasn't either. Yeah, I
So you're
wasn't. I
23.
was
You're
not
born in what,
either.
2000? You're born in what, 2003?
2002
2002?
May.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
the end of The Rock's
This,
good career.
oh my gosh, that's very true because he left in 2004.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
to go back. My one friend, so like I said, we went to Brooklyn. My friend on the way down showed me a promo. I'm trying to remember what the promo was. It was definitely a Rock promo. And he was like, this was the best promo of all time. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
thanks for showing me.
Yeah.
I have to remember what it is. And if it is, I will like text you guys. And I was like,
There's
it's this promo.
there's one that I'll always go to. It's the one where The Rock is talking about Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn winning the King of the Ring. You go back, just type that in. The Rock, Billy Gunn, uh, King of the Ring promo, where The Rock is talking about Billy Gunn winning, and it's like he's talking about Billy Gunn being on his hands and knees praying to God, and piss rolling down his leg. Like, it is absurd. Like, The Rock was just the greatest at being absurd, crude, but just had you in stitches, I feel like. And if you loved humor like that, you loved The Rock, and he was my guy.
Do we even have to ask you who your favorite is? I don't think we do.
No, because you can see. Well, actually, no, you can't. You can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. For me, it's John Cena. Of course, like if it wasn't obvious before, it is now. If you go back and watch mine and Mike's podcast, that's Cena's my goat. I can't say anything bad about him. It's the fact that I grew up with him, and I pretty much started watching when he became the guy. You know, when he became the main event player, that's pretty much when I started getting into it. He's, just what he stands for and all the things he's done with like the Make a Wish Foundation. He has the most wishes granted in Make a Wish Foundation history.
I love that.
Yeah, and just what he stands for, always, just being very humble, and just seeing him throughout his career, especially like a lot of growth. Because I know there was a time where people were like, oh, you can't wrestle, and then like when he wrestled against names like Shawn Michaels, they were like, okay, he can wrestle. So he stepped up when it really came down to it. In fact, JBL, who was a former WWE champion and commentator, actually nicknamed John Cena Big Match John.
And you met John, right?
Yes, I've met John Cena twice.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
And you guys went to WrestleMania, multiple WrestleManias. How does it feel to live my dream?
It's
My gosh.
well, you can ask Mike, because when I went to WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, that was my first one. That was like you can ask Mike. I was like in shock. I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Like I only ever dreamed of being here. It was great too, because because I also like Seth Rollins, and they were doing a panel, and Mike's like, here, let's go to the panel, and just being able to see like Seth and Becky together, it was really cool. I got a picture with both of them. Very, very quick interaction, but I got a picture with both. Seth signed my shirt.
King.
Mhm.
Icon. He really is the visionary.
Right.
Here's the thing, I didn't like him. Before his
Oh.
cash in, like watching his cash in live, I was like, okay, like my sister and I had more respect for him in that moment. And I also know about the Shield, so I liked him in his Shield days.
You
Okay.
gotta have you seen the Heist of the Century, the WrestleMania 31 cash in?
It sounds familiar. I definitely
He
think I have.
that was a Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and then Seth Rollins came and cashed in to turn it into a triple threat.
Iconic. That is very Seth Rollins of him. Now, before we go, I need your men's and women's Royal Rumble winners.
The men's and women's. So I think I've been talking to Ryan about this. This year is very exciting. I think last year's was very exciting because you had so much superstar power. You had John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk in there. I think this year's has the same kind of cachet in it, but just because of like the younger guys that are in it, you're gonna have a Jacob Fatu, you're gonna have a Braun Breaker, you're gonna have also, but like the older guys like Roman Reigns, Cody's gonna be in it. I think it comes down to Roman. It comes down to Braun Breaker. I don't know. I can see it just it's like a toss up between those two. Gun to head, I think Roman Reigns.
Okay. Roman Reigns for me too. I just want to see it. I'm also, again, I'm biased and I'm selfish, because if Roman wins the Rumble, he will be in Philly on February 2nd. He just has to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that for me, especially because we have ramp seats. And
Okay.
I really want to see Roman that close and breathe the same air as him.
You want to see that long, wet, hair dripping down.
Me and Mike, we've seen Roman from floor seats.
Yeah.
Crazy. Incredible. I saw him at SummerSlam. Him and Jay, that match was great. First, who's your men's, Ryan? Who's your men's? Royal Rumble winner?
Okay, so mine's actually changed up a little bit recently. At first, if you asked me this a couple months ago, I would have been like, oh, Sami Zayn, it's Saudi Arabia. They've been saying, oh, what's the one championship he hasn't won, a world title? But in the recently my pick has changed, and I think it might be Braun Breaker, just because I think. Well, it's because it's obvious they're setting him up to be like the guy.
Yeah.
But if it
Braun.
isn't, if it's not Braun, I could see it being Roman. But my personal pick is Braun Breaker, just because nothing against Roman. I just want to see somebody new winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I respect that. I do respect that. I guess I will start off with my women's guess. It needs no explanation. Liv Morgan. That's it. That's
Liv.
all.
Okay. You know what?
Watch me. I
Yeah.
love her.
Mike, Mike, who's your women's pick, Mike?
I could see them going with Mommy again, you know?
That's a first, because everybody thinks it's going to be Liv and Bianca the last two.
No, yeah. I think Mommy, Rhea Ripley, she wasn't in the either the main events last year, so I think they want to put her in a big spot again. She hasn't been world champion in a while. And so I think I think this is totally WWE. They want their main stars on, main event spots at WrestleMania. Rhea
For
Ripley
sure.
is still arguably the biggest female wrestler that they
She-
have. And so
Love her.
I can see Mommy going and winning her second.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good take. I haven't heard that yet.
I actually see it being Bianca Belair, for her being a return, because she's been out since WrestleMania. We've seen her twice since then, but she hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania. And I think if you want to have not necessarily, because I think she's going to be a surprise. Like, she might be, I could see her be number 30, but I see her winning her second Rumble. And I think if she wins, they're going to set up Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill at
They need
WrestleMania
to.
for the Women's
They need to-
Championship.
They need to get that title off of Jade, because if you're not going to defend it, and I
Yeah.
love Jade, please don't think that, but
Oh yeah,
if you're not going to defend it, and you're just going to sit there and in your promo say, I am that, and just leave it
And
like
it's-
that, it's
and
like
it's
you're
the
not even going to
same-
wrestle and
yeah.
prove that you are that,
yeah, and it's the
So,
same promo every week. And with Bianca, historically she's one of the greatest women's champions ever. She's already the longest reigning Raw Women's Champion, and so yeah, I think they do run Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and I could see him doing it with Bianca winning her second Royal Rumble match.
She has to.
Totally.
Has to. Well, guys, thank you so much. This was
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Yeah, thank you
absolutely.
so much for having us. This is really cool, really special for us. So we really appreciate
Definitely.
you taking the time to allow us to join you.
For sure. Well, thank you guys. Hang on. Let's stay and chat. Recording and transcribe. Stop recording.
Awesome.